The Rams are now on the clock.
Adam, what can you tell us about Vasquez?
He's a receiver that started getting a lot of attention following an incredible all-star performance. He was always known as a reliable target, but he went above and beyond during the exhibition game, catching everything thrown his way. Even though he was facing off against some of the top defensive backs in this class, he was able to create separation and make plays after the catch. He followed the All-Star game with great combine and pro day workouts, showing just how athletic he really is. I think we'll see him quickly grow into an NFL caliber receiver for this team through the course of the season.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
He was the recipient of a Hail Mary pass that went down as one of the biggest moments in college football this season. What Matt Miller told me was, it sounds like he should get all the credit for it. As he described it, he did exactly what a coach wants his receiver to do in that kind of situation. He kept his eye on the ball as he ran downfield, boxed out the defenders in his area, and finished with an athletic, leaping grab. We knew he was one of the better receivers in college, and that play basically showed us why. This team just added a potential offensive weapon to its arsenal, and I look forward to seeing what he can do on Sundays.
The Memphis Hounds are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
After turning in an average performance at the Combine, his pro day was a last chance effort to show off his athleticism. He kicked off the day by running his 40 time in just under 5 seconds. Nothing special, but what scouts were most impressed with was his 10-yard split. He tested faster than most other linemen in the draft. At the sound of the gun, he was out of his stance and passed the 10-yard marker in around 1.5 seconds. That's the kind of burst that coaches love to see from their big guys. Also told, he showed great bend in the knees and his footwork was sharp during drills. One GM told me he looked like the most complete lineman in the class, and it's no surprise he's already been picked up. He should be a solid anchor for this team in the future.
The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock.
Steelers have just made Delgado their newest player.
This quarterback has garnered the reputation as being one of the more consistent passers in all of college football this season. He had a string of games where he averaged over 300 yards and at least 2 touchdown passes a game. According to Matt Miller, the big takeaway from his hot streak was that he played against varying levels of competition. No matter if it was some of the weaker defenses in college or some of the toughest, he tore apart their secondaries. He always plays at a high level and never sinks down to the level of his competition. We'll see if he can remain so consistent once he's playing on Sundays.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Mexico City Diablos are now on the clock.
Let's go to Adam Schefter, who has more to say about the Diablos' spicy pick.
He's a Heisman-winning defender. Let me say that one more time. He won the Heisman, and he's a defensive player. Need I say more? You can imagine how well he played this season to win the biggest award in college over several offensive playmakers. The trophy was well-deserved, and according to Matt Miller, he projects really well as a defender in the NFL. I think this is a home run pick, and it's great to see a defender get some well-deserved recognition.
The 49ers have just made Hughes their guy. Let's hear more about him from Adam.
Coming into the season, several scouts had him ranked as the top linebacker prospect entering the draft, and what followed was a flurry of media attention. The constant distractions looked to have taken their toll on him as he struggled to put together consecutive strong performances throughout the entire season. This inconsistency had him all over the experts' draft boards on a week-to-week basis. Even Todd McShay wasn't immune to the ranking roller coaster, having him anywhere from the number 2 to the number 10 linebacker available. This pick will be looked at as a bit of a gamble until he's able to prove he has the mentality it takes to turn in great performances on a week-to-week basis.
The Texans are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock. Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
Many draft experts speculated that the rigors of his college career were catching up with him and that his struggles were a result of playing through several nagging injuries and not an issue of talent drop-off. After some time off, he impressed with his raw numbers at the Combine, giving more than one GM confidence that his series of struggles was nothing to worry about. He'll likely be given the opportunity to challenge for the starting spot, making him someone to keep a close eye on throughout training camp and the preseason.
The Panthers are now on the clock. The Memphis Hounds are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Chargers have just made Barry their guy. Let's hear more about him from our guy, Adam.
Sources have told me that it was his impressive college All-Star Game MVP performance that solidified his positioning as one of the most sought-after defensive backs in this year's draft. He has a nose for the football and a willingness to attack the ball as it's in the air. Instincts are a trait that simply can't be taught, and many draft experts have compared him to a young Deion Sanders. If there's one knock on him that I consistently hear, it's that he needs to work on his tackling mechanics and strength. One scout even showed me film where he was shown struggling to bring down bigger backs and receivers one-on-one. He'll be meeting with a team nutritionist and strength coaches in the coming week as his new coaching staff feels that if they can bulk him up a bit, he'll win those battles.
The Steelers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Mexico City Diablos are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock.
What wait, looks like both war rooms are feverishly back on the phones. I think that means a trade is coming.
The Memphis Hounds are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
Well, the first thing they need to do is have him sit down with the team nutritionist and trainer to make a plan that will bring him back to playing shape. He showed up at Indy several pounds overweight and looked lethargic in every drill. Guys like Matt Miller had their doubts that he can even make it through an NFL training camp right now. We'll see if they can get him in shape before camp and if he can control his weight in the future.
The Vikings are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock.
Now that Thomas is off the board, Adam, what do you have on him?
The foundation of any good team starts up front, and here's a guy who's a franchise's dream come true. GMs I talked to pointed to several of his games in college where he took on some of the nation's best defensive linemen, going toe-to-toe with them for 60 minutes of brutal trench combat and dominating them. He's going to be able to protect the franchise quarterback in addition to opening up holes for the run game. With size, speed, and strength, he should have a very successful NFL career.
The Eagles are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock.
Let's go to Adam Schefter now, who's got more to say about the Lions' latest pick.
He spent the entire offseason working on his footwork and mechanics, and when scouts finally had a chance to see him up close at his pro day, they came away hopeful but not thrilled. As Matt Miller put it, he looked okay during drills, but the most important thing he showed was improvement in just a few months. He's not exactly ready to lead an offense, but I'm guessing the team is committed in developing him further.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Adam Schefter now with more about Wheeler.
In college, he was always a playmaker, baiting the quarterback and making something happen after the interception. However, his problem areas were exposed at the All-Star game. Playing against some of the best receivers and passers in college, he struggled in zone coverage. He gave up a handful of big plays, always looking a few steps behind. One coach told me if he played a little tighter in coverage and made a play on the ball more often, it would have an instant increase in his production. We'll see if his new position coach can get him to do just that.
The Titans are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Mexico City Diablos are now on the clock. All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
His college career came to an abrupt end this year when he was suspended from the team. I spoke with the school's athletic director, and he told me it was due to an academic violation. He was on probation and close to failing several courses before the decision was made between the director and his coach. He was able to turn his grades around, but his draft stock took a hit when the news broke. Scouts weren't too bothered by his academic issues, but his lack of playing time made it harder to evaluate him with the rest of his class. And now that he's drafted, I don't think the team is too concerned with his grades either.
The 49ers are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock. The Mexico City Diablos are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock.